the bilateral relations and ties between Egypt and Lebanon. And this was an opportunity for us to discuss how to develop further the bilateral ties and the cooperation between the two brotherly countries in different fields, be it political, economic, or commercial, or cultural and artistic. Of course, we agreed today on giving momentum to these relations and moving them to broader horizons to strengthen the friendship between the two countries, and also to implement the directives of His Excellency President Sisi and President Joseph Aoun when they had a meeting here in Egypt at the sidelines of the extraordinary Arab summit last March. We also discussed today holding the joint senior committee presided over by the prime ministers of the two brotherly countries that would be held here in Cairo during this year, with the participation from the ministers of both countries, to discuss all fields of cooperation and to enhance the brotherly ties between the two countries. As you all know, there is an invitation from President Abdelatty al-Sisi to his brother, His Excellency President Joseph Aoun, to visit Egypt. And right now, we are working through the diplomatic channels to set the date for this visit that would be held, God willing, soon. Also, our talks today witnessed lengthy discussions on the developments in Lebanon, in particular with continuous aggression and occupation of Israel on lands in the south of Lebanon, and also due to the Israeli continuous aggression that targeted the civilians and harmed the infrastructure of a number of Lebanese cities. I emphasize to my brother, Minister Youssef, Egypt's full support to the devoted efforts exerted by His Excellency President Joseph Aoun and the Lebanese government under the leadership of Mr. Nawaf Salam to restore stability and security in Lebanon and to achieve the aspirations of the Lebanese in welfare and improving standards of living. I confirmed, along with Minister Youssef, the importance of full commitment to stopping any atrocities and the full withdrawal of Israel from South Lebanon and full respect of the integrity of the Lebanese territories and its sovereignty. And we warned against the escalation in Lebanon, and we heightened, of course, the importance of full implementation of UN Resolution 1701 in a way that would enable the Lebanese army and the Lebanese institutions to shoulder their responsibilities, as this is the only means to achieve stability and security in Lebanon. We also discussed the importance of support from the international community to Lebanon at this critical moment, and God willing, in the future, supporting plans to reconstruct the areas that were destroyed because of the Israeli aggression. We also tackled other important issues like the support of His Excellency President Sisi and Egypt's support to the state of Lebanon and its national institutions, as well as full support to President Joseph Aoun in all his efforts. to enable the state, the army, and the Lebanese institutions to shoulder their responsibility to achieve the rule of law and achieve security everywhere in Lebanon. Once more, we emphasize the importance of Israeli withdrawal from all the points it occupies in South Lebanon. And on the other hand, I discussed with my brother, the minister, the developments in our region, be it in Syria or Gaza or the West Bank, in light of the continuous Israeli aggression and the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. And on my part, we emphasized the continuous Egyptian efforts in cooperation with Qatar and in coordination with the United States to get back to the ceasefire agreement signed on the 19th of January 2025, as well as working on stopping the bloodshed of the Palestinian nation in Gaza Strip. And we also discussed the Egyptian efforts to fix the ceasefire and the truce and the release of the hostages, as well as guaranteeing full access of humanitarian and medical aid. At the end, once more, I would like to express thanks and appreciation to my brother, Mr. Youssef Raggi, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Lebanon. And once more, we would like to emphasize the full support of Egypt, the leadership, the government, and the people to Lebanon and its national institutions. And the floor is yours. Your Excellency, Minister and Brother, Dr. Badr Abdelatty, it gives me honor to be here with you today in this visit to Egypt. I would like to thank Your Excellency for the hospitality and the brotherly reception I received. It is, in fact, an important visit and dear to my heart. As Egypt, the leadership, the government, and the people are in the heart of Lebanon and the Lebanese. I would like to express my thanks and gratitude on part of the Lebanese people to the President of Egypt, and the President, the Prime Minister of Lebanon, and the Lebanese people. All would like to extend thanks to Egypt, the leadership, the leader, President Sisi, for his absolute and continuous and full support to Lebanon, especially regarding their efforts, especially the diplomatic efforts to remove the Israeli occupation from South Lebanon. This is very valuable support, and we fully depend on you to be able to liberate totally our country. Lebanon today is a new phase in its history. We started a new era with President Aoun and President Salam and the new government. A new era that is promising, an era that provides full support to the Lebanese, and it is supported also by the Lebanese, the brothers, the Arabs, the international community. And we wish that we'd be able to reach safety and security thanks to you and to all my friends and brothers. As the minister said, we discussed the bilateral relations and enforcing the senior council, as well as trade exchange between Egypt and Lebanon. Lebanon in the last years have been through a number of economic crises, and there was vacuum, and also the harbor explosion was a real disaster for Lebanon. And we believe that with this new era in our history, we would be able to enhance our relations with all brotherly countries, in particular Egypt, that is dear to our hearts. We also talked, as you mentioned, the Minister, the regional developments, the developments in Syria, in particular the issue of displaced persons. Lebanon has about 1.5 million Syrian displaced persons, and they are no longer political refugees. They became economic refugees. They can get back to their country, but the international community need to adopt another approach to support these Syrian displaced persons to get back to their countries and to help them return back to it. Lebanon cannot endure more. Lebanon is shouldered by a lot of economic security and social challenges. And we talked also about the necessity of embarking the borders with Syria, and we discussed also the regional situation in general, and I emphasized to the Minister the full support of Lebanon to the Egyptian approach in dealing with war in Gaza. We fully support you and your policy towards the Palestinians and the crisis that's taking place in Gaza. Once more, Mr. Minister, I would like to thank you for the hospitality, and I would like again to thank Egypt, the leadership, the government, and the people for the support. Thank you once more. We'll open the floor for a number of questions. Mr. Mohammed Al-Khouli. My question is to the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Lebanon regarding the thorny issue, which is the arm and weapons of Hezbollah. It was said that a decision was made about it, but we are going to wait for this step. But on the other hand, Hezbollah says that the idea of disarming it is a fully refused idea. And was Lebanon informed about any decision or any date to start this step? His Excellency the President, in his oath speech, mentioned the importance of limiting arms and weapons in the hands of the security. And all members of the Lebanese government announced the importance of limiting arms in the hands of the Lebanese legitimate forces. And in every statement made by the President and the Prime Minister, they reiterate the importance of limiting arms and weapons to the state institutions and the legitimate forces. This is not an international request. This is a Lebanese request. This is what is needed by the Lebanese state and the Lebanese people. Yet the policy of the government right now depends on wisdom and it looks for the best means to achieve this goal. And as the President said 2 days ago, the decision of limiting arms and weapons in the hands of the Lebanese legitimate forces was taken. Another question? Ms. Warda Al-Husseini, أخبار اليوم. Thank you. My question is to Minister Dr. Badr Abdelatty. With the continuation of Israeli violation on Syrian and Lebanese sovereignty and the continuous aggression and destruction in Gaza, what are the recent contacts made by Egypt with the regional and international parties to put an end to this? Thank you very much. The Egyptian contacts do not stop with all regional and international parties. Efforts do not stop, and the contacts are continuous to stop all forms of violation of the sovereignty of Arab countries, and also putting an end to all killings made by Israel through its policies. Right now, as we mentioned several times, the international law and the humanitarian international law and all multilateral contexts discuss this. If there is one state, if there is a country that's trying to violate the sovereignty of other countries, this cannot go in line with the international law. And of course, how we can apply this and overcome the different crises. And of course, we are waiting for what the public opinion would say, because there is a party that thinks that its power would be able to achieve its stability and security, and this is not achievable. Of course, we need to respect the state's sovereignty and the rule of law. And as I mentioned, we need to avoid double standards. And of course, if there is an international system, then the international community need to impose its will in this context. Once more, the context would not come to an end and they would go on. And right now, we have much enthusiasm regarding the developments in Lebanon after electing the president and after forming the new Lebanese government of technocrats. We are confident that, God willing, Lebanon would recover, and the problem that lies now is just the continuous occupation of the 5 areas in South Lebanon. And through our contacts, we are working on putting an end to this occupation and to make the Israeli forces leave these 5 areas so that Lebanon would enjoy its full sovereignty, and then we cannot give any pretext to any party or any entity to talk about resisting the occupation. So if we would put an end to the occupation, of course, we would have full opportunity to the Lebanese state and the Lebanese army to impose its full will and power in the south. And I talked about our efforts and the Egyptian honest efforts regarding ending bloodshedding and killings in Gaza and the access of aid. And this applies also to Syria. Under no condition we would accept this Israeli approach to take lightly the agreement of the year 1974 and violating it and taking more Syrian lands, as well as continuously violate the Syrian territories. Of course, we won't stop these efforts until the international law and the Arab countries' sovereignty are respected. One additional question, Ms. Heidi Sabri Shuruq. In light of the regional tensions, how can Egypt and Lebanon cooperate to enhance stability and security in the region? Are there Egyptian expected initiatives in this context? You talked about the joint Egyptian-Lebanese committee. First of all, regarding the relations with Lebanon, there is a strong momentum that would be given to these relations in the near future. As I mentioned, His Excellency President Sisi invited President Aoun to visit Egypt, and we will have also a meeting for the joint senior committee, and God willing, we look forward to coordinating, holding an economic event between the Egyptian and the Lebanese business communities, be it at the sidelines of the joint senior committee or afterwards. The role of the private sector would be greater. And regarding the regional tensions, we of course have the Arab Islamic Ministerial Committee that is assigned by the extraordinary Palestinian summit hosted by Egypt and presided over by President Sisi last March. And right now we have an action program for this committee to work on talking to a number of European capitals as well as other capitals in the whole world, so as to mobilize the support and the resources needed to support the reconstruction plan. And this is the main objective that we are focusing on right now. There is an international agreement now on supporting this plan. It's no longer an Egyptian plan, it is an Islamic Arab plan that is supported by the international community represented in the EU, Japan, China, Russia, Brazil, and South Africa, in addition to a number of other countries. So right now the next step would be that this committee would conduct visits to a number of capitals to mobilize the support, especially to hold Cairo conference for the reconstruction that is under coordination now with the United Nations, the World Bank, as well as other international partners, as the responsibility of this conference was turning this early recovery and reconstruction plan into concrete steps. What keeps us from doing this right now is the continuous killing and aggression, and once we reach an agreement for ceasefire, we will go forward with holding the conference. Every day we communicate with the United Nations and all international parties to discuss all the details of the conference and its outcomes. Accordingly, we wish that a ceasefire would be reached so that we would be able to hold this ministerial conference as soon as possible. One last question, Mr. Ahmed Diab Al-Watan. My question is to the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Lebanon. You elected a new president and a new government is formed, and this was a feast for the Lebanese, and this of course raised the expectations and the aspirations of the Lebanese and the whole Arab people to get back to before the explosion of the harbor, so that Lebanon would get back to how it was before. And this needs first stopping the Israeli aggressions, of course, as well as putting an end to the occupation of areas in the south of Lebanon. What about the international context made by Lebanon to secure real guarantees so that the Israeli aggressions won't be repeated again in the future, and to put an end to the current occupation of some spots and areas in Lebanon? Thank you. The Lebanese government is exerting all efforts with its brothers and friends and the international community so that we would exert pressure on Israel for full, immediate, unconditioned withdrawal from all the military areas it controls. And there are diplomatic efforts exerted in this context. With Israel, you might not be able to get the guarantees, but you try as much as you can to exert pressure on them so that they would end their aggressions and withdraw. The efforts are going on. We have received a lot of assistance in this context from the international community, and we are working on that, and we hope for the best. Thank you very much. Thank you.